What's going on, everybody? It is Tuesday night, 8 p.m. on the East Coast. I am back in Jacksonville, Florida at the home. What do you call it? The Central Command. I don't know. I'm here in my garage. If you see behind me, I've had to move where my display or my banner usually is, and then like over there is just all like the garage is just turned into total staging space for us moving. Those of y'all that didn't hear, my family and I were moving to Minnesota, and it's going to go fairly quickly. The house went on the market on Friday. By Sunday night, it was under contract, full. It's amazing, actually. I don't say this to brag. I say it to be thankful, but it actually caught us off guard. We got full asking cash price, no inspection, September 1st. We're closing. Okay, got some things to get done then. So that's what's going on in my world right now. Also, disclaimer: if you guys see me grimace tonight, I hurt my back like bad. Like it's not in good shape. I'm trying to get it together for Daytona. But if you see me like lean back and grimace, I got my old man, ice pack there on it. So it is getting better, and I think it'll help. I'm so reluctant to take like pain meds and stuff. I'm afraid, to be really honest, I'm afraid I'll like them. So I don't, but I just kind of grunt through it. But anyhow, we'll see. Maybe I got to go get some medicine tomorrow or something. But anyway, so yeah, if you see me making weird faces, it's not any other reason other than just my back is giving me a bother. So it's good to be back home. Last week was incredibly busy. So last Tuesday, I don't know if y'all saw the show or not, but I was in Minnesota with Taylor and Danny at Chakra Scales, and they were incredibly kind to put up my holdbacks and my breeders. I guess if they want something out of me, this is the time. They've got me by for a lot of what I've got going on. But they're really great people, and they gave me a whole separate section of the house to where their animals are, which is really cool for a quarantine kind of situation and safety of their animals and mine. And it's cool. They got chickens everywhere. They got peacocks. They got goats. They got horses, quails, guinea hens, guinea fowl, you know what I'm talking about, dogs. It's good. It was fun. It was a cool farmhouse, and we had a really great time. And I just can't say thanks enough to them for helping me out. The move would be very, very, I'm sure I would have figured something out. Figuring things out is kind of my forte, but man, it was really great. So I'm super thankful for that. We got Daytona this week. I am. Frankenstein asked if I was vending this year at Daytona. I am. I'll be in the second room, and in the spirit of earning my spot and working my way up, I'll be way in the back of the second room. As Wayne, the show promoter, described it to me, it's where the snack bar tables were last year. So what I'm saying is, you got to work to find me. Come see me. Like I know there's 700 vendors. There's well over 1,000 tables. I'm not going to stand out in the crowd, but come see me. I'm in the back of the second room. Come hang out. It would mean the world to me. I'm excited for it. Yeah, maybe you buy something, maybe you don't. I'd love to make a buck or two, but Daytona is one of those, like, I just kind of wanted to get it on my resume. So we'll see, but come hang out. I'm in the back of the room back there. Got a new clutch this week that will not be at Daytona with me, of course. Some clown stuff, some Enchi stuff, some Enchi clown, some super Enchi clown stuff. Pretty cool. Next clutch, I'm excited. Like 12 days away, I find out if this female that I've raised up since a hatchling is a lavender het pied or she is just a lavender. And I know I could have tested, but when I started breeding her or getting the pairing season together, I couldn't have tested her. It was that, testing was that new and it wasn't reliable. Everything was Dr. Seidel at that point. So I knew I was going to be pairing her anyway. And I knew that the babies would all be lavender and they'd be at least 50% het pied from the male. So I was going to pair anyway. So I said, well, you know what? I'm not going to test. I'm just going to go and we'll find out, so that's coming up in 10 or 12 days. Tune in on Proper Cup of Joe on Thursday. Joe will be back. That's the morning show, 7:30 in the morning. Have some coffee with me and Joe. We'll talk all about the trip, all about the logistics of getting my snakes up there to Minnesota, all that. I'll leave that there tonight. We'll stay real nerdy tonight. By the way, I got Marshall from NoCo Reptiles up in Fort Collins, Colorado. He'll be on the show tonight. Give me just a few minutes, and we're going to get him on the show. As I said, the house sold. I'm thankful for that. We got a house under contract in Minnesota. I got about 2 weeks where I'm homeless, going to be out on the street, man. Got to figure this out. That's true. I'm not going to be on the street, but I think we're going to be couch surfing and living in, Airbnbs for a couple weeks, which is fine and nothing but blessings and good news that are in there. So if that's what I got to do for that time, that is what I will have to do. All you Midwesterners that have reached out to me, man, you've lived up to your very kind and polite stereotype. You're like the little Southern Canadian section there when it comes to politeness and kindness. And I shouldn't even make jokes about it. I say that because my mother's from Canada and I adore Canada. It's been really great. A ton of people have reached out to me. I spent about an hour on the phone today with Joe Atchison from JSA. And he was just hugely helpful. We were talking about how I was going to retrofit my Minnesota basement, and he was just hugely insightful on the moves that I should make and the planning that I should put in place when it comes to building the snake room down there. And I've got to hop to it, man. I got to get on that. So huge thanks to those Midwest connections. I look forward to joining that community and being a part of it. Talked to, of all people, Eugene Bassett today. He told me he's the one that owns the guitar. He bought it at the auction last year. He did not tell me what the reserve was, but it did not meet the reserve on the latest auction for USARK Florida. So it is going to be back on and up for auction at the Daytona USARK auction. And I think I could be wrong. Don't quote me on this. I believe I understood him to say that it will not have a reserve there. Whatever it sells for is what it's going to go for at Daytona. So that guitar is back up. Kind of cool that way too. I think that's all the announcements. Like I say, the primary news is that my back hurts and I want to put on a good show of content. I've had a couple shows. Not that last week wasn't good content. It was neat and fun, but honestly, oh man, I was so tired. I was out of it, and we had a couple beers and I'd already thrown my back out at that point. So I want to get back to the typical content that you're used to here on Proper Royals Live. Thank you for being here. Thanks so much. Marshall from NoCo Reptiles. I started hearing Marshall's name would pop up. First, he watches the show, which is always a good first step if you ever want to get on the show. Support me in the audience. But he was always insightful. And then I would hear other people mention him, and it's great that Jessica's here. I saw her earlier, Jessica from Hold Back Rack podcast. But there was a certain respect and almost gravitas that she spoke about Marshall with and held him in a very high esteem. And almost to a person, everybody I've ever spoken to about Marshall speaks very highly of him. And we're all imperfect. I'm not saying that he's perfect. We're all imperfect. But when I hear people are wonderful people and just widely regarded as such, those are the people that I want to do business with and interact with and get to know. So I reached out to Marshall, and he was very gracious. He said, yeah, we can make that work. And he said, I don't really know what we will talk about. And I was like, well, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of what we're going to talk about. So through the show together, we'll see how it goes. You guys know, kind of have my topics to start with, but we'll see where the show goes. So enough of all the introductions. Help me welcome for the very first time ever to the Proper Royal stage, Marshall Van Thorre from Fort Collins, Colorado, NoCo Reptiles. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks. Good. How you
doing? Good. I'm glad to see you didn't run off after our intro, in the green room back there earlier tonight.
No, I didn't think I'd have any time. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll go to the bathroom one more time and get you a drink and make sure he's all good to go.
Yeah, cool. All joking aside, thank you so much for being here. And I know it's a busy week, and you too are going to Daytona, right?
I am. Yep. I fly out Thursday morning, and I'll be there for the weekend.
Yeah, cool. You're going to get there before I do, and I live an hour away. So that's a good job, I guess. I mean, you're going to have a little bit more fun than I am. Then you'll get to have a little time.
My mode is if I fly into Jacksonville, so I'll be right there with you Thursday.
Oh, do you?
Yeah. So my friend Tim comes from Covington. He comes from North Shore there, and he comes over from Bailey and Bailey Reptiles. He picks me up Friday morning on his way through, and then drops me back off Sunday night on his way back through.
Okay, so and sorry, you said that name really quickly. I'm actually not familiar. Who is it that you've ended with, or that you're meeting?
It's Tim Bailey with Bailey and Bailey Reptiles.
Okay, and where are they located? Did you say?
He's on the North Shore in like Covington, Louisiana, North Shore of New Orleans.
Gotcha. That's what I was trying to figure. Yeah. Oh, cool. Well, that's a long drive for him too, man. And I was going to say it's a fun drive. It's a fun drive getting to New Orleans, and then not that fun leaving. And I-10 across the Panhandle it's boring, man. Especially if, how do you say, if you enjoyed New Orleans to its fullest extent, that is a long drive the next day. And I personally can attest to that.
Yes. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Not down cool. 10. I've gone back. I used to fly into Shreveport a lot. And a couple of times, me and my buddies went down to New Orleans and had business the next day. And it's, wasn't always easy.
It is challenging right there to do that. So well, that's cool. I didn't know you had the tie to the Jacksonville tie. That's cool. You'd be coming into Jacksonville and then heading down. You staying the night here in town?
Yeah, just by the airport. I fly in. I don't get a car or anything like that. It kind of stemmed from early on, just vending with Tim at the show, and it was just convenient for him to pick me up there. I could ship my snakes to Jacksonville. I could pick them up the next day, be ready for them. I'd ship them out Thursday, I'd fly in Friday, or ship them out Wednesday, fly in Thursday. Then I could pick the snakes up, just ship them right there to the airport area. There's a FedEx right there, and he'd pick me up in the morning, and then on the way back, he would ship the snakes to me from his place once he got back home. But
yeah, I was going to ask about that a little bit later in the show, but let's just jump into it now. So that's it. All right. And I know you just said it all, but there's more to it. So you fly into Jacksonville, and then you go to FedEx. You go directly to FedEx. So you label it to yourself, hold at facility, and then go get the snakes at FedEx.
Yeah. I mean, there's other ways of doing it. 2 years ago, I did a little bit different, but typically, yes, I would just ship the snakes to myself, hold at FedEx. I'd find a location right there at the airport. There's a nice location right there. Hold at hub basically. And, I usually leave here around 6 a.m. I get there around 1. Always made me a little nervous. It's always warm in Florida and stuff like that, but it was never been an issue. And, so I pick the snakes up, hang out for the day. Tim picks me up in the morning, and then, down to Daytona we go.
Wow. How long have you been doing that? That takes some thought, and like the first time that takes a little thought and gumption. Cause I mean, you do have some variables that could go wrong in there. Yeah.
So you're shipping on the Wednesday for Thursday. So obviously if there's a delay, you would have Friday.
Right.
But I have been very fortunate to knock on wood. I've been shipping with FedEx since probably 2005, 2006. And I can count on one hand, probably the delays. And I've personally never lost a snake in shipping.
Right.
They've all made it sometimes a day late, but there are risks. What I'm doing with Tim and my friend Sean at one time used to ship snakes to me. I would drive out to the West Coast. They would fly in and then, would vend with me in that area, or have their own table, whichever way they choose. But I had enough displays, and he has enough displays, so we're not shipping displays, which gets to be problematic.
Right.
Just shipping animals makes it much easier. It's worked out really well and allows you to get a further reach. But I started that. I probably started in 15, because I did snakes full time from 2011 to 2015 roughly. And I've actually driven all the way to Daytona in that show. So Yeah, that was interesting.
Well, and so I take it that it's, I mean, is it worthwhile financially, or is this just kind of a fun thing that you do to stay relevant? I mean, I think I know the answer, but I mean, I guess I'll let you answer it. But that's a lot of work when, you know, you could just do that, you know, Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas City, you know, circuit kind of thing.
Yeah. So it depends on the time frame. So when we're talking early on in like the early 2000s, like 2010, 11, 12, for sure financially worthwhile, even the drive out there to take care of it. I think the market was, I don't want to say different, but you know, the market's changed over the years. And when I was doing it full time, it was very, very worth my time to drive to Daytona to do that show. You know,
At that time, am I right envisioning? I mean, you had what? You had King Snake and Fauna, and you had shows. I mean, what
right.
was there a presence online yet? I mean, other than was there even the message board online, or was that still in print?
No, so I think Morph Market came around 2017 or so. I remember talking to John early on in Arlington, probably 2015, 2016. I'm terrible at dates and stuff like that, but back then, you know, from, you know, when I got into it in 2004ish, it was King Snake. Then you had some forums, I think the BLBC, and there was another one out there, I think, you know, that were stuff. But really, King Snake was the driving force and shows. And at the time, I was doing a lot of shows. I think that's a great way of representing yourself and getting out there. People get to meet you. They see your snakes. They see your setup. They see hopefully how professional you are, or how nice you are, or just like, you know, you get to be known. And I think that's done a lot for me over the years, both for sales and for my enjoyment in the industry.
Yeah, and those at that time, how many shows were shows as prevalent as they are now? I mean, how many shows a year were you doing, or was it like 4 big pops a year, and you got to make that revenue last and work throughout the year?
When I did it full time from 2011 to 2015, I was doing all the NRBC. So I did Tenley, Arlington, Anaheim were the big ones. And then not, I mean, early on there wasn't even a second Tenley, and there were 2 Arlingtons before the 2 Tenleys, I think. There was 1 Anaheim, and then I would do the Reptile Super Shows, both San Diego and Pomona. And then there was no Repticon. There was no Show Me Snakes. I mean, there was a local show here in Denver that was fairly good. I think we were lacking now in Denver, a really nice show. I haven't got a chance to vend the newest one. Really because his show falls in the same time as Daytona, and I choose to do Daytona over the local show.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It's been the biggest reason why I haven't done. And I can't remember who does it now. But so I was doing about 18 shows. I mean, I go to Reno, I go to Las Vegas, and I would go to Utah, like Salt Lake City area.
Yeah. Well, 18 shows in a year. That's a pretty good click, though, really,
it
actually.
It was hustling along, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's moving. How many shows now do you do? What are the shows that you do now?
So once I went from breeding stakes full-time in 2015 to what I call a real job, you know, where you show up hourly, you know, I was much more limited on my time and time off. So I went to just doing 3 major shows then from 2015 to 2021. So I was doing Daytona, Tenley in October, and Arlington in the fall, in the spring.
Oh, I see.
With the 3 shows, I could take off time to go do that. I work in the motorcycle industry. So Saturdays are a day that you don't get off, period. You know?
Yeah. That's like my food and beverage world. You just, it was going to be one or the other. And, so was that a happy time going back to an hourly job, or was that a disappointing time, or a little bit of both, a relief? What was it?
I was happy. The reptile industry is a lot of fun and excitement, and I can probably be on the pessimistic side of it a little bit. You know, it's a very unstable market. To me, you know, it doesn't take much to get involved in to breeding snakes. It takes very little actually compared to any other business. I've been in the motorcycle business since '97, and if you want to be a dealer, it's a considerable investment of money and wherewithal to do that. So what makes our industry what it is so easy to get into it and breeding, and we saw that in COVID during COVID.
Here I am.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but it's also it's what makes that, I think, a little bit unstable.
Right.
My new boss likes to talk about 80-20s, and 80% of the people or 80% of what you're talking about is in one direction, and the 20%, or I think even in snakes, maybe 10%, are capable of doing this as a full-time job and stuff. But I'm not putting down the side hustle and what can be done on the side. It's been my side hustle from basically 2006 to currently, with only 2011 to 2015 where I did it full time. I had sold my previous business and had a non-compete.
I see. Yeah,
I had to work through that. So
that's a perfect situation. That's a perfect excuse to go, well, I guess I just got to sling some snakes for a little bit, huh?
Right. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was fine. Yeah.
Well, I don't. The details aren't that important, but that's a pretty good feeling to get a non-compete, like to be told, like, you're good enough. If I buy this, you have to stay, like, legally you have to stay away. Good for you, man. That's a cool accomplishment. I've not experienced that. I've had some other strange corporate experiences, but I haven't experienced that. So, well, cool. Thanks for sharing that. And then on that mindset, because I think I could be wrong because I can't see into the future, but my gut tells me we're on the precipice of another market change in how we sell snakes. I think we've gone through a market change of pricing and demand, and we've come out of the pandemic, and there's probably a bit of a flush or a cleanse going on right now within the industry. But what's your feeling on we'll keep it in a positive light. People can read into it however they want. But I think there's new players coming in to challenge morph market. I think it's an opportune time to challenge morph market for a variety of reasons. And I myself, I'm not a very big player, but I myself have seen, I'll speak on my experiences. I have seen my morph market sales go to very, very little. And that's become, like, not self-fulfilling, perpetuating. You don't see the results, so you stop putting as much effort into it. The results get worse. You stop putting even less effort into it because they're not as good. And on the flip side, I'm getting more great results from Instagram and from shows and from the community that I've built. So morph market's less important to me. What are you seeing, having gone from King Snake and shows being the primary vehicle through, morph market had its own, had a boom at the same time the industry had a boom. Those were concurrent things. So what do you see going forward?
So I still think morph market's king personally. There's no other go-to one source to list your animals, get a response. Is the new owner doing what I'd like to see? Probably not. I'm a pretty low-key guy that likes to lay in the background, more like John, 100%.
Right.
John did a fantastic job and really built something up there. Whether I think it's more of a timing thing. I think we're obviously seeing a correction in the market, as every market is. The market
Correct.
I'm in, the industry I'm in, I think maybe food's doing better. I mean, other than the cost of doing business,
that's the problem. Everybody came back out, but the operating overhead, in some cases, front of the house labor, for example, at the last property that I worked at, that overhead certainly hit a 200% increase, if not 300%.
Yeah.
And I'm talking specifically server wages.
Right. It doesn't surprise me. I think in Colorado we were on a tip server wage, and now I think our minimum wage now is close to $15 an hour, and I think servers are 12. So and they're no longer required to fold napkins and stuff like that. I think are have to be paid full time. I don't know all the details, but obviously I'm in a pretty aggressive state here in Colorado, and we're not California, but we're not Florida, so we're kind of, we're in the middle. So,
well, and I don't want to make the show about service industry.
Right.
On the other hand, the business model of saying, hey, I'm going to pay you $2 an hour, and if you happen to do a good job, somebody might leave you extra money. Now you go get to it. That's a pretty hard sell too, so I don't know what I don't care to get into what I know what I think the answer is, but people will find the answer. The business will evolve just as ball pythons will, just as the reptile market will. We'll find the answers. So anyhow, so there's some market pressures right now.
Yeah, I think we're still under some market pressure. I think, we saw a big correction up until now, and now we're in the middle of snake season. I mean, everybody's got snakes hatching, racks are getting full. I think prices have to adjust again accordingly. It's a simple supply and demand. I don't think it gets much simpler than that, but it's not going to be easy, I think, and we will cycle some people out of it, as with every industry, even the industry I'm in. There's, even in much bigger terms of business, that still things cycle through and things change. So I still think, looking at the economy, which I think is doing relatively well, there's lots of people spending money and stuff, but a snake's a luxury item, and it's not a quick get rich quick scheme. It takes effort and it takes time for sure. I think a lot of people are figuring that out, and you don't always get the odds. You don't always get what you want. You don't get a snake to breed or that male to breed, or there's 100 different things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
And you got 4 eggs instead of 8 in this female, and then you lost 2 in incubation, and all of a sudden the odds get pretty tough. And there's years and years I've tried to produce certain things, and double heads and things like that just take time and luck. And it's not easy. You got to do it. I think you're successful when you do something you like, enjoy doing. That always helps. You can't. I always thought if you could spin this on Shark Tank and not mention the word snake, you show them margins and you show them what you're doing, they'd be like, oh my God, they'd be throwing themselves at you. They'd be fighting over who gets to invest with you. Then as soon as you said, oh, this is what I'm selling, it's a snake, they'd be like, oh my God.
Yeah. I've actually literally thought of that. I'm not the guy to do it, but somebody that's a little more social media savvy than I am could make a fantastic Instagram reel of like you and I pitching it and then clipping to Mr. Wonderful being like, yeah, I smell a royalty deal. Do you? And then him being like, take it out back and shoot it.
Right. So I think looking at I guess Show Me Snakes is going to do something. I'm a little concerned about that, because I personally don't want to have to load snakes on the 3 different platforms or 4 different platforms. I don't want to. I'm not very good at social media. I'm not very good at Facebook. I'm not very good at Instagram. I'm obviously not doing a YouTube channel. I'm a little old school there. So, I struggle posting. I've got some clutches hatching that I should post pictures of and stuff like that. But, honestly, I've built a pretty good following in business, and a lot of my stuff sells without much effort. And then you put some effort into morph market. And I think everybody could be better at it. Just taking the time and effort and pictures and descriptions and really working it. Money doesn't fall in your lap. You got to work for it. So
yeah, I will agree completely with that part. People be intrigued. They'll say, well, how does selling on Instagram work? And it's kind of like, well, it's another one of those. It works if you work it. Like, voila. Hey, after the shows, I get more inquiries. Well, in my downtime at shows, I'm just constantly posting because I got the lights up. We got the activity. You got all of the snakes out there. May as well be doing something productive if it's slow. And that leads to sales and inquiries. So yeah, you're right. If it's a lot of it is what do you set the time aside for? What do you make a process or a system, and you do it systematically, and it does pay off. And doing it continually over time. I think you hinted at that a little bit, that, you're going to build your customer base. You're going to have people that trust you, or not trust you. You're going to get what you earn. And in your case, I'm glad to hear trust you. So what are, we skipped right over it because we jumped right into the content. Marshall, for people that don't know you, can you give just a quick 30, 60-second introduction and kind of the elevator pitch version?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just Marshall with NoCo Reptiles. I started in 2004 when there was a handful of morphs out there, and I got lucky on a few things and invested in a few things and stuff has gone well. But I spent a considerable sum of money originally getting started in back then it was buying single gene stuff, but a Mojave was $10,000. So,
okay.
But I'm just a home breeder. I do it on the side. I try to treat my snakes right. I try to take care of what I do is represent the best that I can and stand up behind what I do sell. So, if you have an issue, I'll be there to correct it, and take care of the customer. I do it kind of solo. Family supports, but doesn't help per se. My wife will stand at the door to the snake room. That's about it. My kids they enjoy coming to the shows and helping me, but they don't clean tubs or rodents or anything like that, So, so it's kind of a one-man show, and I don't know what more to say than that, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. I was chuckling because people ask me, they're like, well, how active, involved, and supportive is Kelly? That's my wife. And I'm like, well, she doesn't do a whole lot. And then I'm like, wait a minute. This woman put up with the crazy idea that I'm going to move 160 snakes into the house, reinvent my career, if not mostly walk away from it. And we're got a pretty happy marriage. Like, that's pretty supportive. So I'll give her the nod. She wins, but I will say to her credit, she pulls females off of eggs and gets them in the box when I'm out of town when need be. So pretty cool there.
Which, by the way, I would just leave in the tub. They're going to be fine.
How long do you leave them in the tub? You're not for full incubation, right?
No, I don't. But here's a funny example. This year, I've switched positions in the company I'm with now, but I was doing a lot of on the road traveling.
Okay.
And I had a clutch laid. I thought I caught it relatively right, and it's in my row of sequence of tubs and in the incubator, and I think 2 weeks before I thought it was going to hatch, there's heads popping out,
Oh yeah.
So it's 2 weeks. I'm thinking maybe 3 before I caught it. So
oh wow.
Okay. And it's you're running through trying to check tubs, and spot cleaning, all that kind of stuff, and sometimes you miss things. And I would have swore I didn't on that, but they came pretty early. So I think everybody gets all concerned about stuff like that. These things are pretty hardy, and maybe it's me. I've done it for so long, but I'm not a cutter. They have to pip. That excitement I enjoy seeing what hatches, but whether it's 45 days or 50 days or 55 or 60 days, it doesn't change a thing in the egg.
Right. Do you cut once they pip, or you let them all pip on their own?
Nope. I usually once one pips, I cut them all.
Yeah. Okay. That's the mode I've landed in, because I will admit there's been a couple clutches where I was just too excited and they lived and they were fine. But in retrospect, after I cut them, I was like, that probably needed a couple more days at them. You probably were okay not to do that. So yeah, now I'm on the let me see a pip and then I'll cut.
Yeah, I think it's the best option. That's what I do.
Well, and I think different people have different skills, and I think time teaches that. Time would have probably taught me to feel those eggs a little bit more and go, maybe don't do that yet. Forget what the calendar says. Let's look at the evidence in your hand, but I have that experience now, but I did not have it then. So, we were talking about markets changing, and your snakes, if you want, is there a ballpark range of like a typical price point that you would say your snakes are at, if you want to share that, or do you want to just say that they're higher end? I mean, where do you put them at?
So originally, like I said, I invested a lot of money, I had a fairly, I think, up-to-date collection for many, many years. I started doing it full time, and frankly, money is more important than a snake that's going to breed in 3 years. So I think from 2011, and then once I got into doing work full time in 2015, I really wasn't much into buying snakes. I wasn't, I was selling most visuals I produced, and taking the money and run, frankly.
Yeah.
So I would say now my collection's a little stale for sure, a little outdated. And I've been working hard.
You got like Puzzle and Stranger and Sunset in there. I think I think you're all right.
Yeah, no, I think so. But I'm not very deep in the doubles and triples and stuff like that. And I think that's the way it's going, obviously. And I've been moving away from, if it doesn't have something recessive involved in it, I'm pretty much moving away from that.
Yeah.
There's some unique things that make some really, I think, pretty unique snakes in color and stuff. So I'll kind of work through those a little bit. But so I've been working more towards that recessive side. And early on, you could take advantage of, when I first started, you could buy, I bought, a yellow belly male that was, I don't even remember the number. It was probably crazy. But you could reproduce those right away. And that was kind of the market back then, the clowns and were there, and desert ghosts. I remember seeing desert ghosts on the table at Reptile Industries in Tinley, and probably 2005, 6. I mean,
okay.
I think I remember it back then. For sure, 2008, 9, 10. For sure. So the recessives have taken a lot of time to develop, and people think you get instant return on those. Unlike, you don't. I mean, I bought my tri-stripe male as an unproven male in 2006. He was brought in from Africa, and it took me. Dan and Colette had theirs 2 years before I had mine, and they beat me to proving it out a year before me.
Yeah,
which was it 2010 or something?
It was a visual import.
It was, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. All right. So it had some locality stuff going on then generationally to make that in the wild, huh?
Yeah, I think it's actually, if we have time, it's an interesting story. It's when I first got into it, I was buying snakes from people, and I was traveling for my job. So if I asked, and they were nice enough, I asked if I could visit their facility. So Dan and Colette were very generous. Brian Barchak, Pete Call. I don't know if I want to mention that name right now, but early on, I mean, there's I'm into Amir down in Florida. I went to a lot of facilities and saw stuff, and at Dan and Colette's, they had showed me what they called the reverse tripe then, and that was the tri-stripe male they had. And then I got on the mailing list out of a guy out of Europe, which is M&S, and that was Stefan. He used to go to Daytona and bring snakes over. He'd go to Germany, or from Germany to Ghana or Togo, whatever it was, and then bring snakes over. And I was on a mailing list, and he had 2 tri-stripes. One looked really nice, which is the one I bought. One looked like half, like you see some of the tri-stripe stuff now, and it was unproven, but I had seen Dan and Colette's, and I was like, there's no way this is not a reproducible trait.
Yeah.
And then later on, I learned, I think that Dan and Colette ended up getting theirs from the same guy I got mine from. And, I've been selling hets since probably 2008 or 9, and I've never heard of an incompatibility issue with anybody. So, but it was just visiting people like that. I saw some things like that. So, but it did take, I think I had 2006, I think 2011 or 12, I didn't look back and see, was the first time I produced the visual. So by the time you raise the male up, produce the head females, and then breed a clutch and hit the odds, it takes considerable amount of time. It's not, you're just not going to throw a yellow belly in with a female and produce snakes. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, especially when it's a new, and there's still new genes, but at that point, when there's not, even the new genes now that you kind of know who's working with them and where to get another one and that kind of thing. And you got internet chats and all that. I'm sure that just wasn't the case. And that wasn't the case on the scene in those days either.
It's a little different.
Yeah. And so, sorry. So where, would you say your average sale is like 1,000 to 15 or 15 to 2,000 or?
Although I do like to be a numbers guy, that's the one thing I don't really do numbers on is
Okay.
it is what it is. If it's $100 snake and that's what it is, it's $100 snake. If it's, I sold a pastel tri-stripe male recently that was $1,800. So, it just depends on what it is. So it varies quite a bit. I would say, I'll be honest, my best sell ever was a banana male back in 2012, $22,000.
Yeah,
That was pretty strong,
Yeah.
But that was my best, highest, most expensive snake I've ever sold. But now I would say if I was picking an average now, it's probably $1,500.
Okay. Yeah. And thanks. And really, I'm just trying to get a feel for, so like for me, I know that my average, my sweet spot currently with what I'm producing and the customer base that I've cultivated and whatnot is, $400 to $700, which is challenging. I certainly can't make a living at it yet. But also if that's sort of the baseline and I can be at 600 to 900 next year and so on. And that way, then it starts to get a little bit more. So we start to get back to the Shark Tank pitch where, okay, you're one person. Well, if you could sell 2 of those a week, your gross revenue is going to be $1,400 to $1,600 a week. Oh, okay. Now that sounds a little bit more fun, So, and what are some stats on your collection size now? What are you working with as far as what you've kept and held on to?
So right now I'm about 120 females that are breedable.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I've been cycling better through some of that stuff to upgrade the collection. I've been more aggressive about that for the past couple of years. This year has been a building year for me, producing, visuals with a second head or double visuals. And I'm really holding back a lot of stuff looking to the future. And I think this year will be a little bit of a struggle for sales. I think, it's supply and demand and price is always an issue. So, so this year I planned a little bit thinking, that I'm going to be holding a bunch of stuff back and upgrading the collection. That's my goal.
Yeah. 120 females is still, that's quite a lot going on still. And you'll get are you doing 60, 70, 80 clutches a year still?
This year it's about 45 is where I'll end up, So again, I wasn't breeding as heavy last year, thinking of what's coming a little bit, and things started to slow down a little bit last year. I wasn't as heavy of breeding. The previous year was 70, and the year before that was 92.
Yeah. Okay. That's still a big operation, especially solo and a full-time job that you clearly are pretty passionate about that as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of nights, a lot of weekends, and once I moved out, I changed positions in 2020 to more of a traveling type of position, and I did have more time to work with stuff, and I work completely from home, so there's lots of time to.
That has made a huge help for me as well. Yeah, absolutely. And we talked a little bit about it earlier, but is morph market and shows your primary vehicle of sales, and maybe you talked about also having cultivated like some regular repeat buyers and that sort of thing. What's your primary mode? Like, you get your clutch. What are sort of the steps you take on sales? What are you looking to accomplish?
Obviously first term what you kind of want to keep out of it, and that changes as the year advances, so you might, get luckier in some additional clutches down the road or something like that. But I would say half of my stuff is just previous business or word of mouth, things like that. And, sorry about the dog. My family's coming home. So.
Oh, cool. They're excited. Yeah.
And then, shows are probably 20 and 30 on morph market would be my guess. If you kind of thinking about how I break it down.
Okay. Gotcha. And I know you have an Instagram account. Do you find many avenues of sales there? Or is that just sort of fun, throw a picture here and there, your little diary kind of thing?
Yeah, that doesn't work for me. And
Nothing.
Again, and same, I probably had more success with Facebook. I was definitely more active on that, I still haven't really, you had the tag of me on Instagram. And I was trying to figure out how to share that today.
Oh man. Okay.
So that's how bad I am about Instagram and stuff. So,
well, I feel bad because I was going to, usually I'll send somebody the thumbnail, and I certainly don't mean to box anybody in or anything, but I was like, the messages have just been kind of short and sweet. Yeah, I'm in, send me what I need. So I try and read the room, and I was like, I'm not going to bother sending them the file, and we'll just go on. And I also don't know, believe it or not, there's been some awkward things where like, I never expect somebody to share like the podcast is my responsibility. So like, if you want to share it, by all means, but then I hear that there's people that like get mad if somebody doesn't share something or who knows what. And I'm like, sometimes it's just not worth like putting any undue stress on a new relationship anyway, So I didn't send it to you. So it's much easier to post if I actually send you the thumbnail. You don't have to worry about sharing it or reposting it or any of that. Instagram is a little bit awkward that way. So don't feel too bad. I could tell you that it's actually not easy to, outside of your story, it's not easy to repost something on Instagram.
Yeah. I think that's the concern was. And frankly, I think, it is a little bit of my job too. You're taking the time to talk with me on your podcast. I mean, obviously I think there's a benefit to it. And I think I should have probably done more myself to support that and do things like that. So,
well, we're even. I'll tell you, I was a guest on somebody's podcast, and like, they sent me the thumbnail, but it was like 5 or 6 days before the show. And kind of my sweet spot of posting the thumbnail is a day or two ahead of time, ideally sometimes Sunday night into Monday morning. So I was a little bit behind on getting this one together. It was like 5 or 6 days ahead of time. And I actually got kind of a nasty email from the host. They were like, hey, if you're not going to share and do your part, I don't need to have you on. And I was like, well, I don't know, an easy conversation of say, hey, here's what I would expect from you could have cured that, and I did it and it was fine. And I'm not, you've seen the show enough. I'm not out to start any drama or anything, but that always stuck with me. And so now when I do send it, I always say, no expectations. If you want to share it, you can, and all of that. But anyway, yeah. So, well, now I feel bad. I should have sent you the thumbnail. And
I probably would. It's so interesting enough is I moved positions in my work, started August 1st. From an outside sales to basically an inside sales. And then I had my daughter going back to U of A in Tucson. I had to take her down last weekend. Cool. So a lot of training and then gone for 4 days. And I'm going to be gone this weekend. And I'm trying to take care of snakes and just, babies are hatching. You're trying to set up on tugs. I mean, it has been a lot. And I probably honestly wouldn't have done anything anyway. It was just, yeah, I do honestly feel bad. I should put more effort and stuff like that. Don't. I appreciate you having me on. So.
No, it's my pleasure. And I people ask, they're like, you do a lot of work for the podcast and preparing, and like, show prep is easy and fun. Booking is the hardest, biggest rodeo. That's I'm showing my days as my English major. The biggest challenge that I face is just booking. And we were talking a little bit beforehand of, as a guest, you might have some trepidation about a podcast or a host, especially being live, like what could happen. Well, I kind of have that too as a host, especially when I say, by and large, I want this to be mostly family friendly, PG-ish, so every now and again something will slip out, but I don't drink, I don't smoke I don't smoke anyway. The point being, sifting through like who's going to be on and not torpedo me is going to, it goes both ways too. So, and
sure.
Jessica's making a joke about the share police. I know she and I have talked in depth about the challenge of do you even have guests in the first place? And then if you do, oh Lord, what are you gonna, what man, what risks are you going to take doing that? You know? So, anyhow, happy to have you. No problem whatsoever. I was going to jump into jeans, and I still want to, but before that, we're close enough. Usually around 9 o'clock, I give a little shout out to the sponsors and pay some bills and give some thanks. Yeah. So let's do that now, and then we'll get into the fun genetics, and then maybe we'll come full circle and wrap back up on Daytona where we started tonight. So everybody, I want to say thank you all in the audience for joining. I couldn't do it without you, because otherwise it'd just be me screaming into a camera, which is not that fun. That's pretty boring. I want to also, before we get to the sponsors, I want to give a special thanks to Steven at Leviathan Snakes. Steven has organized a live broadcast from Daytona. We'll be broadcasting live from the Hilton, and the broadcast will be a Proper Royals and Leviathan Snakes. I think the hip kids call it a collab, but we're gonna it'll be simulcast on both Proper Royals channel and the Leviathan Snakes YouTube channel, starting at 5:30 on Friday evening after the setup in Daytona. We'll be broadcasting live from the Daytona Hilton in the lobby public common area somewhere, and we got some cool guests coming on. I'll have the thumbnail up this week. I know Brock Wagner for sure is coming by. There's a handful of other guests that will certainly be there. Troy from Balls and Strikes is going to be there, and I've got a bunch of invites out, and we're going to do 15-20 minute spots with a whole bunch of breeders and a whole bunch of friends, and I suspect we'll probably let our hair down a little bit after they've set up in Daytona. Nice cold beverage on the beach sounds pretty good, So just a huge thanks to Steven. He is, if you've ever met Steven, when he's excitable and determined on something, he is probably more excitable and determined than even myself. And he is thrown his full effort behind this, and I'm just thankful. So please check that out. You will see a whole lot of marketing in the next couple of days from Steven and I about this podcast, but you heard it here. And hey, if you want to come hang out with us, shoot me a message. I would love to have you on, and it could be a 2-3 minute, hey, what's going on? Welcome to Daytona kind of thing. So real laid back, fun community time, kind of behind the scenes hangout at Daytona. So check that out. Friday night, 5:30 Eastern, and on both the Leviathan and Proper Royals channel. Also, check out REDLINE Shipping. They are very, very good to me here. I'm a believer in their product. I enjoy their product. I enjoy their customer service experience and their customer interface. And I am just talking about shipping animals. I enjoy shipping with them. It's easy, and I'm confident in what they do. Use the promo code Proper5. Get yourself $5 off your next shipping label if you have not already used the code. And even if you have, let's be honest, $5 is not a huge discount. I'm thankful that they've extended that, but it's a good experience. Just go check it out. It's good. Cold Blooded Cafe. I feed frozen thawed, and if you choose to, not on any soapbox on that, but I do like Cold Blooded Cafe's product. Their rodents I have found to be very high quality, and in my experience, they've always been the one for me. I was a customer of theirs for several years, and I've only been at this like 3+ years right now. So for a couple years before we ever did business, I was their customer. I'm a believer in their product. Cold Blooded Cafe. Use the promo code Proper10. They are going to give you 10% off of your order, which adds up. That's going to be more than $5. I promise you that. Go check them out. I think that you'll enjoy it. Cold Blooded Cafe for your frozen thawed rodent needs. We got Chris at B and S Reptilia. You might just see Chris hanging out on Friday. I'm not sure what his family schedule is. Chris has been a longtime supporter. He has an unbelievable amount of snakes species, and this is where me as a ball python guy, I fall short, because I can't even speak properly about everything that he has going on. So I know that there are blood pythons. There's a variety of colubrids. He tries to add a new species each year, locality boas, and of course ball pythons. So check out Chris at B and S Reptilia. There's a reason you hear his name everywhere. He's incredibly supportive of the community, and I've never heard a bad word about the guy. The guy takes care of people, and I pick his brain for business a lot. He's been a really good colleague and confident to work with. Keith out of Creative Genetics out in California, our newest show sponsor and supporter. I do own one of Chris's snakes, Keith's snakes that I bought from him some time back. Check out what he's got going on. Speaking, we're going to talk about Stranger, but Keith is working with the Stranger Project, VPI, Pieds, Clowns, and I think he's got a couple other things cooking as well. But check out Keith at Creative Genetics. And then last but not least is Snakes for the Memories. I was looking for your coaster. Yeah, there it is right there. Sorry, my back hurts reaching for a coaster. Bam! Snakes for the Memories, Jeremy and Holly. They're going to be in Daytona. You might see them pop up on the live broadcast as well. Newly relocated to Indiana. Very kind, special people. I enjoy vending with them. They're good folks, honest folks. And the passion that I see them put into their snakes is fantastic. Ball pythons primarily. Maybe it's something else, but I don't think so. Go check them out. They've been great friends and great supporters of the show. I am thankful. Believe it or not, I know it sounds cheesy, but all of these sponsors make it possible for me to focus on this show week in and week out, not have to go clock in somewhere and worry about where the paycheck is coming from. So I would love it if you would give them a little shout and a look-see, and maybe you could take care of them a little bit by patronizing their business. If you're interested in sponsoring, I've got some other sponsorship opportunities on the Thursday morning show, and I'm sure we can work something out that hopefully brings value to your business. Thanks for hearing the pitch. That's a long one. Marshall, thanks for hanging out through it. Let's see. Oh, well, I don't know what this is. Casey says, he is a Patreon member. Adam, I got something for you and Leviathan on Friday. I don't know if that's a threat or like something to look forward to. No, I know Casey's a good guy. I'm not going to, it's not a threat. Yeah, come hang out. We will be, Steven, I know that you're in the chat. Do you have any details on where this is going to be filmed from, or are they just going to have to find us? Because the common areas in the Hilton there at Daytona are honestly, I couldn't believe how big that hotel is. I mean, Marshall, how long is that stretch? Quarter mile,
like
half a mile?
It's the two hotels, and it used to be like my first Daytona was 2004, the hurricane year. And I wasn't even going for ball pythons, but when I was going there for ball pythons and later on, it used to be right there in the main lobby, and the South Tower was party central. And it's much quieter on the other side by the, I don't know, that high-end steak restaurant, whatever it's called.
Right. Yeah, that steakhouse there. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's probably plenty of room to do something.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's just such a monster stretch, because I think between the entrance to that South Tower you're talking about and that restaurant on the north, I mean, it's many hundreds of yards, if not, like I say, a quarter mile to a half a mile. I mean, it's a haul. Yeah, you don't just come down to the lobby to the restaurant. Like it's a determination to get there. So, let's talk about some genetics. What are you excited about these days? I know I rattled off some earlier, but what are you excited about?
I'm always excited about puzzle. I mean, I was the first guy to buy into it, and I still produce a bunch of puzzle stuff. And
wait. I'm sorry. Let's pick that apart. I didn't know that you said you're the first guy to buy into it. How does that work? What's that timeline like?
So that was Sean Bradley, of course, that brought it to market. He didn't produce it. It was from some snakes he had sold to a customer of his that brought them back and said, "Hey, look, I've got these crazy things. What do you think?" And Sean's like, "Oh yeah." And I think then Sean, he's probably better telling the story than I am, but he took the project over. And I remember being in RBC, Tenley, October 2009. Sean had him on his table, and I was hanging out with him. And every dealer, every big breeder walked by, I was like, "Holy cow, that's cool! Holy cow, that's cool! Holy cow, that's cool!" I was like, "Oh my god, I gotta have this!" So I bought a male, and at the time, some Posset females from him. All the Possets actually proved out. But
wow, very cool. Okay,
I was lucky. So that was 2009, and so it's again a recessive product that takes time to produce stuff, and really during COVID, puzzle really got going heavily, and really expanded, and we've seen a lot of great patterns and new combos that have come forward. So
what double or triple recessive path are you excited about with puzzle? There's not been many examples of it. I know there's some, but what are you excited about, or what or can you share what you're working towards? Some people are really guarded about that.
I mean, like Ultramel, I think it's going to be a great one. I think more color than pattern. Like I have some like double heads for like tri-stripe and what's the other thing I was doing? Tri-stripe. Tri-stripe. And then like, obviously like Sunset, some things like that, stuff I've worked with, I've tried to make the double heads, things like that. But we haven't really seen anything super exciting. Like Clown's not been super exciting.
Right.
There's a Pied. But some of those I just don't think do well, mixing the pattern. So, and they get very difficult. There was just a post the other day about someone posting a low expression puzzle, and like pinstripe's terrible with puzzle, terrible. So
yeah, you're right, because it is such a pattern disruptor, and if you start layering the patterns on it, you're gonna have trouble with it. And then, Pied, I like working super gravel project, and somebody was like, how's that gonna look with Pied? And I was like, well, I've seen them, but Pied kind of smears everything, which is cool in some ways. This doesn't do any good with super gravel, or the same with puzzle. That's probably not going to do any well. So I'm a latecomer to the puzzle game, but I just picked up a hypo het puzzle and then a double het hypo puzzle, both females, but they're hatchlings. So I've in another year and a half, I'll go find a exciting male for it. But I thought that the hypo, accentuating that dark pattern is going to be a nice option on that.
Hypo seems to soften the puzzle pattern a little bit,
Okay.
I think, but I think hypo's not in enough stuff, and it's kind of, for as long as it's been out, I don't know if it's just forgotten. It's not as exciting as Clown or something like that, or Pied, but it does make some fantastic combos, and I think it's underrated for sure, but I think there's a lot of potential there.
I think hypo's coming around, and I think it's, like you say, it's a nuanced gene, and it's really ideally best suited at accentuating other things rather than just on its own, in my opinion. So that situation takes, like, I almost equate that to music. I think you almost have to be a certain age or a certain point in life before you maybe appreciate classical music, whereas as a kid, you just want loud, like punk rock, and so maybe hypo works that way. But the other thing too, I mean, like you say, Desert Ghost has been around a long time. So I know it was always sort of backseat to Desert Ghost until just recently. So, so you said Ultramel, and has anybody done a puzzle Sunset yet?
Not that I know of.
No. When will yours?
I think.
What's that?
I think that'll be really interesting.
I think so. Well, Sunset's got the pattern and the color change, so that'll be interesting to see especially if it breaks it up. If it busts it up to kind of shattering it, it could be well. Hopefully not too much. It could lose some of the. Yeah, it could lose some of the. Could end up looking like just a mucked up monsoon. But no, that'll be cool. How far out are you from possibly hitting that? Like 3 years still then?
So Ultramel should be next year. And then I did some POS het stuff early on with Puzzle and Sunset. So it'd be proving it out next year.
I see.
Double hets. I mean, it was just, and I suppose now, I guess you could shed test stuff, but I'm a kind of a old school and let's just breed them and see, now that space is getting to be a premium and you really got to pay attention to what you're doing, and I will be doing more shed testing and stuff like that, but I haven't been a big proponent or doer of it yet. So it's funny to think about because it's so common and normalized right now, but really this time last year when I was doing my pairings planning, it really wasn't a viable option. I think RGI was talking about it, or a few people could have access to it. And then when they did start
you know, it was that 2-3 month backlog, which is not a knock on them. I actually understand and can empathize with that quite well. And it's amazing now how normal it is and how much it's changed the industry. Like, I love, it seems so simple. It seems like we're just breeding snakes and hey, that's what you do. But I mean, the sales, the marketing, the reaching the market, the logistics. I mean, you're shipping snakes around the country and you're racing them on Delta while they're on FedEx. Like, it's a cool dynamic industry, you know, and the innovations are really cool that way. So, you've been at Tri-Stripe for a really, really long time. That's one that we could say kind of maybe got the hypo treatment as well. It's kind of been under the radar for a long time. What's some of your favorite things that you've seen with that? I'm really, truly not very familiar with Tri-Stripe. I saw some in the show prep today.
Again, I think it's one of those things where it's about a color with the pattern. So banana and lavender and ultramel is going to be, I think it's been done. It's going to be pretty cool. But I think like I've seen the pie Tri-Stripe, and is that what it is? You know,
right.
You know, it's not easy to tell. So I think it's more, you know, when you look at something, it's more about color than, you know, the pattern. So I thought the leopard one though was kind of cool. So you never know.
Does it seem, what's your feeling? To me, it would feel a little bit surreal because how long, you mentioned quite a long time you've been working with Tri-Stripe. How long is that?
So like I said, I got my original mail in 2006.
Yeah. So, I mean,
in 2011, I started producing visuals.
So 17 years in, and we're talking about what seems relatively easy on the surface. Well, we haven't seen it in Ultramel yet, or we've just started to, or, you know, like it's kind of, I don't think most people realize like how long the window of opportunity for developing really, really cool results is. Like the opportunity is so massive. I mean, we see clowns and pieds, but I mean, even clowns are still just evolving. We still see crazy new, incredible clowns, and they've been a number one for quite some time now. So, what are you working on with Tri-Stripe? Are you what double recessive direction are you moving in with Tri-Stripe?
It's like puzzle, ultramel, lavender. I'm trying to think what else I got down there. Clown, hypo.
And, yeah, has Tri-Stripe Clown been done before? What does that do?
I've not seen that.
Not seen that. Wow. Yeah. Beast Morph says, yeah, there's so many combinations to make. I mean, it's incredible. Like in that way, because it's very common and easy, and whether it's a hobby or an industry to whoever it is, a business or fun, it's very easy to feel overwhelmed. Like, how will I ever catch up? How will I ever, make a difference and make a spot? Man, you can like pick your target and make your spot. You know, it's so cool. Let's see here. Yeah, Jessica says it's been done, but it's kind of sleepy. So yeah, we'll find it, I guess.
And you never know. I mean, I don't know. When Justin made the Batman, did he think that's what he was going to get out of it? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you know, you don't know sometimes until you try things to see what it's going to be. So
right. Yeah, the opportunities are cool. All right. Sell me on Stranger, because I don't get the excitement. I'm not against it. I don't get it. And I realize that like you're allowed to just like and not like stuff. So maybe it's as simple as that. But people love Stranger. They're nuts about it, man.
So I'm not the guy to sell you on Stranger. So, I mean, when you look at this as a business, and one thing I really appreciate when I watch the Holdback Rack, and Jessica is the frank talk of business.
Yes.
I love that. And it's here's where you get all goofy with some people and stuff like that, is that, it is to some extent, or chickens and cows and stuff like that. Probably not, but it is a type of business. And when you look at it business wise, there are things you do sometimes because you're looking at the potential of increasing your business. And Stranger was one of those things for me. And, frankly, some of the clutches I've hatched, it's pictures have been sent out. Hey, is this stranger? Hey, is this stranger? Is this stranger?
Right.
You know, and I'm like, I think it is, but no, it's not. You know, and so man, that was me chasing, you know, a path of business and not necessarily something I truly love. I mean, I think the Stranger Clown is pretty cool, and I think there's some things like that, but you know, it's not like a tri-striper puzzle to me.
Yeah, yeah, and kudos to you for having that conversation because Lord knows, man, that you can. I mean, I've run into some buzzsaws where, yeah, it is a business, and we want to be passionate about what we're doing. We want to certainly care for the animals. We want to care for the other people in our community and in our business. At the end of the day, like so in my restaurant consulting, I sit down a lot of chefs and a lot of sommeliers and say, you can go down with the ship, not selling something because you think it's beneath you, or you can make a whole lot of money on white zin and laugh all the way to the bank while you're buying $200, $300 bottles that you sell. And then you don't have to make nearly as much of a margin on. And I think that there is a place for that. And I think it's a gamble. I think, and the other thing Jessica talks about a whole lot is how fast prices decline and especially on, I just call them dominants, whether we want to call it co-dom,
Right.
you know what I mean. I know what I mean. Yeah, you know what I mean. I think that portion of the gamble is there as well. But no, I don't knock anybody for having it. It just doesn't do all that much for me. So I thought there'd be a good setup there, but you turned that right around on me. And I do have to apologize to Keith at Kreative. He works with Stranger a whole lot. And I was proud that I was able to help him actually move a really sweet stranger, but just not for me, you know?
It's, I learned, like, we talked a little bit about my history, but, I was a Honda motorcycle dealer for 14 years and I was so into Honda and I turned away other brands that I could have brought in franchises into the business. And my nose was in the air sometimes and like, that's garbage. I'm not selling that,
Right.
So, you can't, it's, there's so many choices in ball pythons that you can't do it all.
No, you cannot.
You can't. And I would say my collection is probably more diverse in genes than it should be. I dabble in a bunch of stuff versus really strongly doing one or two or three different things. And I think sometimes that's, like I know Leviathan is very heavy, I think, in the Sunset. I mean, and they're very passionate about it and they're working the project very well. And I've been more of a, spread out a little bit and because you don't know what the next thing is. So I've been kind of thinking I'm a little more lean and can move in a direction I need to or something, or when that next new thing comes out, you can take advantage of it. And we are in business here to do this. And so there has to be some thoughts towards that. I mean, you can't do it all in ball pythons. You have to focus, and it comes down to rack space and your time and some factors of what you can and can't do.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that conversation up. It's like you've been watching the show or something, but that is almost literally every conversation that Steven and I have always comes back to that. Cause he says, you should really pick one gene that you're going to be really known for. And that's the one. And I'm like, I'm a diversified portfolio kind of guy. I'm an S&P index fund kind of guy. Now, that probably won't get me as rich as somebody who nails it on a Tesla stock by 20 years ago or whatever their story is. But I could go to sleep at night not worrying about if one thing is going to tank, So, but you're right. They've done a magnificent job and obviously we're very good friends, so I don't mind sharing that. But they've done a magnificent job on building. On doing just what they set out to do, building that exposure for Sunset and representing themselves. And I think it actually is, from everything I've heard, I think it's paying off very well for them too.
Benefits to it. I mean, you have to hold back stuff. You have to look to the future and you have to keep building that collection. And if you've got a very diverse collection, if you produce 2 females of XYZ, and that's where it sets a project, they might bring good money. Like, early on when I was selling puzzle females, and they were bringing very good money before COVID. And, it's 3 years or cash in the hand. And many times I took the cash in the hand, and didn't develop the project further than I should have, So, and if you're only producing a couple a year, how much can you hold back, and how much, you've got to pay for the rodents, you got to pay for electricity, you got to pay, your time and effort and things like that. So, you got to see there's a balance there, and very specialized. So if you produce 5 females, it's easy to keep 2 and sell 3.
Yeah. Yeah. And, what plays into a lot of that too, and this is not reflective of Leviathan whatsoever. What plays into that too is wherever people see, whether it be factual or perceived, of where they fall on their own spectrum of business to hobby and the resources. Frankly, this is not a hobby I could afford at the level that I'm doing it if I didn't treat it as a business.
Correct.
That requires that I sell things sometimes that other people are like, you're nuts for selling that. Well, it's either I sell it and then the business works, because otherwise, like I say, this is at the level I'm at and that I'm enjoying it right now. I could not do it as just a hobby. It absolutely would not be justifiable to myself and my family whatsoever.
Correct. Yep.
So for me, other people have obviously different resources and different things, and it would intrude on my, on my guitar collection. That is a very important. It's already intruded enough on that. My tax guy gave me last year. He goes, "Well, how many guitars you buy this year?" I said, "None." He goes, "Well, that means you got to buy 2 this coming year." I was like, "That is why I have you, man."
and that is something that everybody should do from day one, is get an accountant. If you have any thought at all of breeding snakes and doing that, please get an accountant. Seriously.
It's not a scary thing. It's not an expensive thing.
No.
An accountant is going to pay for itself and make you money. And you could probably expand on this even better than I can, because you've got even more business experience. But those first few tough years lay the foundation for either deductions or future deductions or offsetting future profits that you don't get back. If you don't do it right, and you don't do it above water, and you don't do it with an accountant, throw that right into the wind, because you can't legally go back and say, "Oh, wait, yeah, it was there, by the way, I forgot." No, you don't get to do that.
No, you can't do that. No, and I think, obviously maybe people buy snakes and don't intend to do this, but if your thought is, you should be treating this as a business, and reap the benefits of that,
right?
In your hobby. I mean, most hobbies don't pay for themselves. This hobby can clearly pay for itself, and benefit you on the other side too. So whether that's you want to buy more snakes or different genetics, or you want to provide some income for your family, it's inexpensive, and it's, and I know I've listened to like Hoback Rec, and they talk about it all the time. So it's people. I don't think people talk about it enough. It's okay that it's a business. It's okay that you're benefiting from your love of the animals and your love of the hobby and your excitement in the hobby. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, there's definitely nothing wrong with that. And there's also nothing wrong with keeping books, being above water on it, because I feel like there's like this like dangerous side, there's this cool, like, oh, we're dealing in snakes, and it's a little bit sort of not quite underground because it's all legal, but but then if people are like, oh, I'm making this cash business and it's all, side hustle into my pocket, I'm not paying tax, like, you just miss out. There's so many better benefits than that fulfillment of like the rush that you just got cash in hand. And to steal a line from, Chris Eaton, do you know how long 3 years is, man? It's going to take you 3 years to just raise a holdback and rebreed it.
Right.
You need to fund that stuff, and you can do it at a better, more affordable price with an accountant. And they're not, I'll tell people, my accountant, now I go see him once a year for taxes, and then I call him usually midway through the third quarter. So like end of September, I'm going to call them and say, here's what I think I'm going to land at. Here's where I think my profitability is going to be. Let's take a big, just macro snapshot and give me some direction. And some years he says, well, you could pay X amount in taxes, or you could go buy some capital infrastructure that you have on your list. Don't go buy something that you weren't going to, but if you have something on your list you're going to buy in the next 6 months, go ahead and do that now if you have the cash for it and the cash flow for it, and don't go broke or don't go into debt on it. Those interactions, I don't think I've ever exceeded $500 that I've paid him in a year. And I could tell you, he makes me way more than the $500. And he's no dummy. He, at the end of every time, he's like, he's making sure that he made me, I don't know what his multiplier is, but he's making sure that whatever he's charging me, he has made me X times or whatever that amount of money. So I'm totally with you. People shouldn't be afraid of it. And I wish they taught business better in high school and middle school, to be honest with you.
I think it also comes down to the customer service side too. It's really weird to relate these two, but if you're being legitimate and you know, I see someone posted about cash apps and stuff like that, you know,
sure.
But I can't tell you the number of times I'll scroll through Morph Market, maybe looking for something, and you see a nice animal that's expensive, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, PayPal friends and family only. That's an immediate turnoff for me. I don't understand why you can't be legitimate enough to take at least PayPal friends or do, you know, a Square or something like that. I mean, are you trying? Because I'll tell you what, I'm gonna have a transaction of that, and it's going to my account, and it's going to the government because I'm sure it's tech writing it off.
Right.
You know? So I think people are short-sighted and stuff like that, and I think it comes down to customer service. And we, you know, I know we're getting a little bit off the genes here, but I think, you know, I see a lot of stuff people posting more about, you know, this customer asked 5 questions.
Oh, right.
What's your closure rate? You know, do you think you're going to close everybody that inquires you? It's probably not. It's not 90 or 80%. It's probably like 10%.
I would say I'm lucky if it's 10 to 20%. Right. Yeah.
So if you get 100 inquiries, you're going to sell 10 people. You know, so yes, you're going to spend a lot of time answering questions, being nice. You know, sending more pictures. Dude, whatever a customer asks from me, they get. You know, my fault is sometimes I'm just time crunched, and it might take me longer than I planned to do something to get something to somebody. You know, I people all the time, Marshall, what females or breeder females are you selling this year? Well, that means I have to go down. I like to weigh them, snap a few pictures, put a list together, and that's a week sometimes for me. And I feel bad. It takes me a week to do that. So, you know, I think people lose the customer service side of it and think they're being inconvenienced when reality is people are asking you, hey, do you want to take my money? You know, do you want my business? And I think people just don't. Man, I've been in customer service since day one of my career, basically. You know, it's me bending over backwards to keep those repeat customers, building that book of business and having those people come back to you. And you do that by excellent customer service, answering those questions, you know, trying to be prompt and quick and showing them that you're interested in what they in their inquiry and you're interested in their business, you're interested in earning that.
I agree completely. And there is a skill to it. And if you haven't worked in that arena, it can be overwhelming. And I get that. On the other hand, I can't think of the number of times that a bartender or even another manager, the phone just won't stop ringing. And I'm like, all those people that are just trying to give us their money, how about instead of getting mad at the phone, you come to Adam and say, Adam, we need more staff on to take all these people's money. It would sound so much better. And of course that sounds like I take for granted their money. I don't. You get the point though. But that's the part of it, and that's the. There's so many cliches, you know, that I hear both in our industry and not. You can't sell the 10th snake till you sell the first one. You can't, you know, maybe that person that bought the $70 Enchi comes back next year and buys a $400 clown because they're pumped now. And you never know. And it's funny. I forget the ones that don't happen. Of course, there's got to be hundreds that haven't come back and done it. But man, all the ones that do, I think I can rattle off their names because they're so special, you know. So yeah, I'm with you on that topic. And I'll say it, I don't expect you to, on a less positive twist. Hey, if people are out there complaining that it's hard to answer questions, come to me. Yeah, come on, ask me the questions. I'll do it, you know. So
yeah, every time somebody buys something from me, a note in the box, handwritten, thank you.
Yeah.
If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. Not only on this snake, on any ball python you may have. You can ask me a question on a blood python or a boa. I'm probably not there to answer that, you know. But
yeah.
if you didn't buy a snake from me and you have a question on your ball python, please.
Yeah.
You know, this is the only industry that I know of where you sell something to somebody and then tell them how to be successful if they ask you, you know.
Yeah, you almost have to, because otherwise they don't have a need for you in the future for repeat business. Yeah.
When I was in the motor industry, I didn't call my competitor that's selling the other brand down the street from me to ask him how his business was, or, oh, how did you do this? Or what was your, you know, here, do this or that. Dude, they laugh at me. You know, I was walked out of a dealership because I came in to congratulate him on his new building. And he's like, here, come, I got to check these new bushes out here. He walked out the door and walked back in, you know? So, I mean, it's very competitive. And, you know, I think that's the case in most industries. And, you know, I don't think, you know, I have very little knowledge of the food industry, but, you know, I don't think guy at Chili's is calling the guy at Ruby Tuesdays and asking them, you know, what's going on and what their new promotion is and what they're doing, you know. You know, I don't know.
No, not much. I could tell you, I worked for Ruby Tuesday for 10 years, and no, at the Ruby's and Chili's level, absolutely not. At the individual proprietor or one-off restaurants or sort of the boutique restaurants or the clubs, that is a lot more prevalent, and a lot of the customers overlap. So that is a lot more prevalent. But no, at the corporate box store, absolutely not, man.
Yeah,
not at all.
We had 20 groups where you get dealers together, typically from separate markets, that you would compare notes and you compare your books and numbers and things like that. And you know, you prevent your good practices and bad practices and what you're doing here or your wages. You know, there's lots of sharing that way, but you typically weren't in a competing market.
Yeah. I gotcha. I don't want to dive deep into this, but it is on the topic that we're talking about right now from customer service. Yeah, there's been a post, and I don't want to know the names involved because I don't know the context, and I don't know. I assume that this is a truthful situation, but I don't know. But there was somebody that had paid for a snake, sent the money, wired the money, and I guess another buyer comes and says, "Hey, I'll give you X amount more for it." And without even speaking to the first buyer, refunds that buyer's money and takes the other person's money. What a dumb, short-sighted, you like, first, you should be good for your word. But second, like, I don't know. Like, let's just speculate for a minute. Let's just speculate that the person paid them $500 more. What a nice payday. Okay, you're going to make 500 extra more dollars. That's me, Adams, new guy on the totem pole. That's one average snake that I sell difference. Yep. And this guy just got his name ruined. And of course his name's come out. Of course people know who it is. That is absolutely just totally asinine, short-sighted, and everything is shareable in this day and age. Look at that. He didn't take the screenshot. Boom. Let's throw it out there. See how that goes. You know, oh man. So
your negativity out of that cost you way more than the money you made out from selling to the other guy, you know. And I have this big habit when I sell snakes at shows specifically is to resex the snake in front of the customer. It's so natural and habit for me. I almost do it before I even hold the snake. I'm like, oh, look, it's a male. Oh, look, it's a female. You know, and I have sold snakes that I've labeled as males And I'm like, oh, that's a female. Would you like the snake at this price?
Yeah.
I swear, every time they've said, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's my mistake. That's not their mistake.
Right.
Or no, I'll take that snake there. And so my habit selects the snake, and oh, that's a female. Do you still want the snake? It's the same price because it's my error, not yours. And I think I would say 99% of the time they've said, oh no, I'll take the female.
Yeah, that'll be just fine. Yeah.
It's a better deal.
Yeah. And let me give the guy the benefit of the doubt. And I have no idea. I don't know who it is. I did not take the time. I know that it's come out, but I did not take the time. If you're a first or a second year breeder and it's your first big sale, because I remember that. I remember the first time I sold a snake for $1,000. Yeah. I was like, you know how hard you have to work at a Ruby Tuesday to make $1,000? Now I was far beyond my Ruby Tuesday career at that point. But that's still what my point of reference. Like when I hear somebody scoff at a $250 pied, I'm like, you know how hard I used to work for $250 that I can move all day long now? That's fantastic. So maybe you got blinded by the light of some new sales and new money. But man, that stuff, that stench of that label just sticks with you so long, man. What a mess. What a bad decision. I just have to leave it at that. So anyhow, Marshall, in Daytona, where can people find you? What animals you got to bring? What are you showcasing? Give us a little pitch. What's going on?
I've frankly got lazy. Normally I'm always, if I'm at a show and I don't have my own booth, Tim is always gracious to give me a case or two to share some snakes. So this happens a lot in Arlington, frankly. I enjoy the shows for more than just the selling of snakes. I enjoy the camaraderie, and it's many times I get to see friends I don't see, but when I'm at these shows. So I've made some great friendships over the years, and specifically one of them's Tim Bailey, and I'll go to the show just to hang out with him. And then it's sometimes nice to attend a show where you're not stuck behind your table.
Yeah.
Working to move your snakes and sell your snakes and present yourself professionally. And so this Daytona, I went back and forth, and I called Tim yesterday. I said, hey, Tim, I'm not shipping anything. I'm not bringing anything in. So,
oh, no.
So I just decided this time, I missed Daytona last year. My daughter, it was her first year at U of A in Tucson, and move-in week was the same weekend as Daytona, and it so happened that family night was the same weekend as Tinley, so I missed both Daytona and Tinley in October.
Wow.
Last year, and so this year she's in a fraternity, sorority. Yeah. And so she was out there a week early so they can do rush this week and pledging and stuff like that. So we moved her in last weekend. So this weekend's free for me. And I just thought to myself, speaking of shows and displays, I know it's been talked about a little bit on your show. You've talked about one or two tables and things like that. I think, not having my banner and not having a full representation in the past, it's been okay at Daytona. But I just thought this time I'm going to have fun. I'm going to hang out with my friends.
Oh, that's cool.
I can walk around the show without responsibility. And so, yeah, this time it's just me flying in, hang out. So obviously I'll be by your table. I'll be by many friends' tables. Yeah. And just enjoy the show. So,
okay. Well, if you could convince them, you and Tim come by on Friday evening, maybe happy hour ish. And I don't know if you enjoy a fat tire from Fort Collins or not, or you've had plenty of that. But no, come on by, man. And I'd love to hang out. But if you don't make it Friday night, I definitely hope to see you on Saturday or Sunday in the show, and look forward to meeting you in person. And every one of these shows that I do or episodes that I do takes on its own personality. I never really know what I'm getting into, and I never really know how it'll come out. But at this point in time, when I'm wrapping it up each night, suddenly I'm not tired anymore. Suddenly I'm not burnt out or stressed or whatever I have going on in my life. So thank you for adding. Tonight is one of those nights like that too. It was really cool to hang out with you tonight. It was really cool to discuss and I think you said at one point, this isn't about jeans. I'm like, I don't care, man. We're having a great conversation. Let it roll, you know? And likewise, thanks to the audience. Like, how cool is it that, 50 or 70 or however many of us hang out here, get to do this every week. So come hang out, guys. Very busy week. I'll see you all in Daytona. I'll see you on Thursday morning on Proper Cup of Joe. If you want to hang out with me and my non-snake buddy, Joe. We do talk about snakes, but he has no idea what we're talking about. So it's kind of fun to get a lay person's opinion. And then Friday night, Leviathan Snakes and Proper Royals simulcast collab live from Daytona Hilton for the NRBE 2023 show. Marshall, you get the last word, and then I'm going to hit the music.
Man, I thanks for having me. I enjoyed this a lot, and I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. One thing I did forget to mention, next week, Chakra Scales, Taylor will be on. We'll do the actual episode that I had intended to do last week that really just wasn't possible after that drive to Minnesota. So Taylor next week. Marshall, thanks so much. I can't wait to meet you this weekend. This is perfect timing, man. Right off the momentum of the show, man. Yep. All right, stick around just a second in the green room, okay? All right, cheers. Good night, everybody. Thank you all very much.